Any office needs certain generic types of equipment to function and transact its business dealings. Computers, photocopiers, switchboards, consumables for their equipment, and then we can also categorize stationery, certain types of stationery as office equipment as well. That would be things like staplers, hole punches, are all equipment that's needed. In this topic, we'll deal with electronic and electrical equipment only. Computers are time-saving tools that allow us to communicate with the outside world and produce documents for business. Documents like typing letters, memorandums, confirmation to guests, recording and updating of statistics, taking of information, report writing, note-taking, financial budgets, forecasting, whole lot of systems that we have in place where we just input data and they calculate things for us. That's generally what computers do, just a tool to help us save time. Computers consist of hardware and software. Hardware are the physical components that we can feel and touch. Software, the programs that we need to engage with the computer. Although in today's world of technology, computers have become smaller and more portable with components like the keyboard and mouse built in to the device. Hardware components are divided into two categories, input devices and output devices. Let's take a look at the information processing cycle and demonstrate which are input and which are output devices. Just to give you an overall look at how quick a computer actually performs and the processes that are involved in getting outputs from the device. Instructions are inputted via the keyboard and mouse, which are input devices. The instruction is evaluated to be either an output and or a communication that needs to be processed and sent. Depending on this instruction in the processing unit, the processor collects the necessary elements or information from the relevant memory in the storage. The processed data is outputted and or communicated to the relevant device, either the screen or printer if you print a document, making monitors and printers output devices, and or the communication device to transmit data to another computer. Any component that is connected externally to your computer is known as a peripheral. Mouse, keyboard, screen, all that is plugged into the back of your computer or to the side of your computer, speakers, anything like that are all called peripherals. One thing to note when connecting peripherals, make sure that the connections fit, don't force the connector into the connections, and in some cases the computer must be switched off for the plug component to register. A mouse is an optical device which uses coordinates to move the pointer around on the screen. Good hand-eye coordination is necessary to work efficiently with a mouse. Hold the mouse securely with the hand of choice, mostly the right-handed. Your right thumb must lightly press the left side of the mouse. Your index finger carefully placed on the left button. Middle finger on the right button. Ring finger and little finger carefully stabilized on the right of the mouse. Lift your wrist, don't lean it on the back of the mouse. The correct use of a mouse is important to ensure good health, as incorrect use could cause a number of joint ailments. The left mouse button always selects, the right launches another menu, dependent on where you're at the pointer. Efficient typing is achieved when the user can type without looking at the keyboard. This is known as touch typing. This skill can be learned through keyboard typing programs. If we take a look at the image on the screen and have a look where the fingers are placed, you can start learning how to touch type by providing or putting your fingers on the letters as shown, ASDF for the left hand and JKL for the right hand. Place your fingers on those letters and find out how they move from one to the other. You will notice that naturally your fingers will move to the letters of choice, hence why we call it a QWERTY keyboard. Graphical User Interface, GUI, which is pronounced GUI, is the software that allows us to interact with our computer. There are many operating systems in use today: Linux, Mac OS, and well-known Windows. It's called Windows because just like a window that we can see through to the other side, Windows allows us to see what's going on the inside of the computer in a language that we can understand. The picture is an example of Windows 10, the latest version in Windows, which simulates mobile application icons to make it easy to recognize apps. Computers, as mentioned previously, are only tools to help us work faster. It is important that we relate the task we need to perform with the application we need to use to perform the task. In Cluster 8, we discuss word processing and spreadsheet applications. If I had a need to draft an email, I would use an email application. If I need to analyze data, I would use a spreadsheet application. Copy machines are assets of the organization and should be treated with organization's interests in mind. A standard process when using a copy machine may look something like this. Choose an original. Why? Because if you choose a copy to make a copy, every copy that you make will depreciate in quality every time you make the copy. Wipe down the glass. Keep the machine clean. Select your copy paper. Press the Start button. Stack your copy sheets. Place blank sheets in the paper tray. Choose your photocopy feature. Adjust the contrast if necessary. Select lightness or darkness. Do a test copy and then select your quantity. As learned in Cluster 1 and 2, the standard communication process must be followed when making internal and/or external telephone calls. Remember that both internal and external people are your customers. Most organizations have specific type switchboards. Mostly used today are the electronic and work off standard software applications from the computer system. In each case, you will be shown how to use the device during your induction as learnt in Cluster 3. The example image shows a Yotel type switchboard, which is telephone on the left and with extension buttons to access the extensions linked to the system on the right. Or a computer system with the necessary software that is linked to a telephone line. The switchboard is operated using the software, so instead of pressing buttons manually, in most cases a click on the necessary instruction on the screen will be required. Telephone skills involves communication. However, once again, just as with written communication, there is no body language, so always do the following. Answer the telephone within 3 to 5 rings. If you are unable to answer the call within 3 to 5 rings, apologize to the caller. If the line is busy or there's no reply, keep the caller informed. Answer internal and external calls according to workplace procedures or standards. Always speak distinctly and clearly. Smile when speaking to people on the phone. Speak slowly and clearly. Use a low-pitched voice. Avoid extremes in volume and treat each caller and situation individually. When talking on the telephone, avoid sounding stressed. Don't interrupt the caller. Avoid eating while talking to someone on the phone. Avoid using slang. Avoid speaking with a third party while answering the phone. Don't treat the telephone like an interruption. And remember that this is a potential customer. And that's a wrap for topic 3 of Cluster 5. Let's take a look at the main ideas. Use office equipment with care. They cost money, and it's the business's interest you need to take into consideration when using them. A computer is a tool to help complete tasks quicker than by hand. Hardware components of the computer are those components we can feel and touch. Make sure of connectors when connecting peripherals to a computer. Use care when using the computer for long periods of time, using components correctly to ensure health and safety while working. When answering and or talking on the telephone, use verbal communication skills as well as interaction.